Hi everybody. So in this video here, I'm going to demonstrate for you the proper use of electronic balance. The scale that we have in front of us here can read to 2 decimal places, so that means it's going to give us masses to the hundredths position. First thing you're going to want to do here is you're going to turn on the scale here. There's an on-off button. You might find that from last it was used, it may not be fully calibrated. If this reading here didn't fully say 0, it wasn't fully calibrated, you're going to want to look for the button that says 0, in this case here Re0, also sometimes called the tare button. You just press that tare button and that basically resets the scale, makes sure we're all starting from this 0 position. So what I've done here is I've actually pulled out for you 2 beakers. Both of these beakers here are 100 milliliter beakers. What you will find here is even though they're called 100 milliliters, they can roughly hold 100. You'll notice actually the top mark is actually not even full 100 yet. So just note there, 100 ml beaker here, it doesn't actually measure all the way up to 100. Also, you'll notice here the markings on the beaker here, there aren't that many of them, and the spaces between markings are actually fairly large. So even though this number here does give you a rough approximate value for how much volume there is, if you're looking for a more precise value, you do want to switch over to maybe using a graduated cylinder or a barrette instead. So the reason I pulled up for you 2 beakers here is even though they look pretty similar by eye, when we actually put them on the balance, you might actually find that the masses actually differ. So there isn't a one-size-fits-all. This first beaker here is measuring 50.04. I'm noticing that the second decimal place here isn't flickering, so if you're doing an error, you can do something like plus or minus 0.01. If it is jumping around a little bit here, you can definitely compensate the error for that. So that one is a little bit over 50 grams here. As I switch it off for another beaker here, you can actually realize, although it looks the same size, the mass of the glass in this beaker here, you actually see that it's actually slightly less. So on that note there, you do just need to measure the mass of your exact beaker, especially if you do put any labels on them. All those labels, masking tape or whatever your labels are, they will also have mass. You want to make sure that that's all put on before you actually weigh anything. So what I'm going to demonstrate for you, one other thing here is we have the empty beaker here, it's 49.04. One way of doing it here, let's say I now need to measure a certain mass of chemical into this beaker, I can definitely press the Re0 button here. That'll basically forget the mass of the beaker, and then basically any increase in mass here will be due to the powder. Or what you can do here is you can just note down this number here with the error, maybe plus or minus 0.01, add in the powder here as I'm going to demonstrate for you later on, and then by subtracting those, the new number with this 49.04 number, that procedure is known as weighing by differences. That will also factor in what the mass of the powder is going to be. So I find generally people like Rezeroing that. So basically it's saying, yep, just forget about the mass of the beaker here. I'm going to take my chemical here. This one here is the chemical copper 2 sulfate. It has a nice bluish tone here. Let's say my experiment here calls for about 2 grams. So I'm just going to scoop a little bit of this copper 2 sulfate here. I'm going to start adding a little bit here. So 0.58, add a little bit more. Right. So I'm aiming for 2 grams. You do want to add a little bit slower as you get closer to the mark that you're looking for here. That wasn't too bad here. So maybe my experiment had called for 2 grams. Oh shoot, I got 2.10. You'll notice that first thing I have extra in my scapula here. In general, you don't want to put the scapula's chemicals back into the original container. Perhaps it gets contaminated by the scapula. I don't want that to contaminate the rest of the container. If anything, you would need to just toss this part out. So in general, it's a good procedure. You always start off with little. If you do want to get more powder, you don't quite have enough here, you can definitely scoop more. This extra powder here, I'm just going to just toss it for now. I do notice that I am a little bit over here. Even if my experiment called for 2 grams exactly, you can just note down that I actually used 2.10 and use this as your mass for all your calculations, and that would perfectly be fine as well. If you are looking to sort of take out chemical as well, you just want to, again, any chemicals that I take out, so I want to take out just a little bit of his here. I want to make sure I try to hit that 2 grams as close as I can, and again, just make sure any leftover material doesn't go back into the original stock bottle here. We just toss this material here. Okay, so that's just a quick walkthrough of how to use the electronic balance. So let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.